Hello everybody, and thank you for clicking on my YouTube channel. My name is Kayla, and usually, and I say usually as in I've only actually reviewed once, but I usually only review otomes, but I would love to start actually incorporating more of my other passions into this YouTube channel for when I get chances to, such as reading. Reading has been one of my lifetime passions. I've been reading since I was little. I grew up going to the library because I come from a very poor family, and that was all that we could do. So reading has been something I've been very passionate about my entire life, and I have only really started reviewing in the past couple years. And I've also become a bit more critical because a lot of the books nowadays coming out, let's just say I've been less than impressed. So I might start reviewing more books in a visual format, and I don't know, maybe do some reading vlogs and maybe like monthly catch-ups or whatever. I don't know. I don't want to do it on TikTok. I love booktube, so that's all I'll say. But today, I'm going to be reviewing Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I read it on Kindle Unlimited, so there we go. I will say, I do like the cover. It's cool. I like it. And that's probably one of the few good things I'll say about this book. I did rate it 2 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I have a lot to say, and from what I could see on Goodreads, it looked like Icebreaker was Hannah Grace's first book she's wrote, at least published anyway, so I feel kind of bad for what I'm going to say. But I'm not going to be insulting or anything like that. It's very critical. I am a critical reader. I like to participate in media. I don't always like to consume it. I'm not a mindless reader. I don't like to waste my time. So maybe what I could say in this book can be a good criticism, I guess. I didn't go into this book planning to review it. So it was towards like halfway through the book when I started to get really upset. But I started jolting down all my thoughts on a notepad, and I literally just copied and pasted it onto a document. So if I look over, that's what I'm looking at. And I didn't write. I just literally just threw like thoughts on there, so this is going to be very off the cuff. So that being said, also last thing I'll say is I will probably be touching on quite a bit of spoilers, so if you are somebody who wants to go into this book without knowing anything, this review is not for you. So I suggest go read it if that is what you want to do. So anyway, Icebreaker by Hannah Grace is focused on a couple. The female is Anastasia or Stassi Allen, who is the figure skater who skates in pairs with her partner named Aaron. And then the male love interest is Nate Hawkins, who's also the captain of the hockey team at their college. They are college level characters. I think Nate is a year older, and he is a senior, and Anastasia is a junior. So there are also a bunch of other secondary characters, a huge cast of characters. For the reason, couldn't tell you. They don't really add much to the story, except for maybe like 2 characters. There's like Lola, her best friend, Henry, her weird, flirty friendship, who's lives with Nate, who's a hockey player. There's JJ, Robbie, Aaron, etc. So for me, what interested me in Icebreaker is I am sort of passionate about ice skating. It's one of my things I really, really love and like to hyperfixate on. I used to go ice skating every year for my birthday growing up. That was like a treat for my family to do for me. I loved watching, go figure, on Disney, Ice Princess. I loved it. I always wanted to be an ice skater. Never worked out for me. And it's also something I've always wanted to write personally myself, because I do write. Even though I've never published anything, I wouldn't say an author, but I do enjoy writing. And one day I would love to write my own ice skating book. Maybe one day I will. And I also really loved Spinning Out, which is such a good show. If you have a Netflix account, watch Spinning Out if you like ice skating. Such a good show. So good. So, and I also like to watch ice skating, like when the Olympics and everything like that. I really like ice skating. So I had a lot of, I guess, higher expectations for this book because it is ice skating. And another romance I really, really enjoyed book-wise was From Lukov with Love by Mariana Zapata. Loved it. Love Mariana Zapata. She's really good. So I would recommend that one over Icebreaker. I did rate it 2 out of 5 stars. So, that being said, this book is damn near almost 500 pages. Excuse me. Let me see the exact page number. 436 pages. I will repeat that. 436 pages for a contemporary romance. Or should I say erotica? Because there wasn't a lot of romance in this book personally, but I will get into that. What are we doing for 436 pages? Wasting my freaking time. That's what we're doing. There was so much unnecessary scenes, so many unnecessary characters. There's a whole lot of nothing happening in a lot of this book, and it was dragging. It took forever. They really could have cut out 200 pages of this book, and it probably would have did a favor for it. I do look sort of a mess. I just went to go see It Ends With Us, and it's 100 degrees out, so forgive my looks, but whatever, that's not what we're here for. And for the length of this book, there was a whole lot of telling and not showing. So, like I said, a lot of telling and not showing. I am looking at a highlight, and this is from Anastasia's point of view. Page 319. I'm sure every new relationship starts with you thinking your partner is perfect, but mine is. He is attentive and affectionate. He makes me feel valued, and he strives to make me happy. Not in a materialistic or frivolous way, but in a way when he actively works beside me hand in hand to try to make my life better. Girl, where? No detriment to Nate. I actually enjoyed Nate more than I liked Anastasia. Anastasia pissed me off about 75% of the book. I will go into that. But it says, he actively makes me feel valued and appreciated and helps me hand in hand. Every scene we have of them together is smut. That's all it is smut. Smut, smut, smut. There's no actual scenes of them building a relationship. Their attraction to one another is immediate, and it feels only on a physical level. There's no actual conversations to be had, for the most part, of them building their relationship. It's off-screened. It's always off-screened. Every time we see them alone together, they're just smutting it up. And if that's what you want to write and read, that is fine. Don't get me wrong, your girl does enjoy smut, but I don't believe it belongs, at least at the level it was in this book, like all the time. Just read an erotica. Market it as an erotica, because lust does not equal love. Love does not equal lust. They can exist together, but it felt like all this was lust. It's just, there was no actual romance to be had, and that really upset me, because I am a hopeless romantic. I mean, like, I am a hopeless romantic. I want to be swooned. I love romance. I love love. I love seeing in books different relationships. I love seeing, what do I love, like Anastasia, what do you love about Nate? Nate, what do you love about Anastasia that isn't sex? Like, show that. Show the building of the relationship. Why do you want to be together? Like, what attracts you beyond the physical? Because that's what romance is. If it's not that, then it's just lust, and it's not romance. It's not love. So that's one of my biggest issues, not just with this book, but just a lot of romances in general. Specifically also in fantasy romance. Like, it's just like, he's just so hot. He's so hot. He's so hot. She's so sexy. She's so sexy. That's not romance. Like, I want slow burn sometimes. Like, I want to see you fall in love. Like, not in lust. And that's a whole other topic. I can maybe do a video essay about that, because don't piss me off. Like, anyway, dragged forever. And then it felt like, I don't know if it was marketed as enemies to lovers, and I hope to God not, because then you'd be robbed, because this was not enemies to lovers. I don't know about you, but if somebody says something when I first meet them, or does something that maybe isn't, like, favorable, like, maybe start off on the wrong foot, I'm not going to hate them forever. And I don't know many normal people who do. And if that is your prerogative, maybe you should go to therapy, because that is not normal. Anastasia started to dislike Nate because he lied to her, like, 0.3 seconds into meeting, and I'm like, you don't even know him from a can of paint. Like, you're gonna hold that against him? He doesn't know you. Like, what does he owe you? Like, he don't piss me off. That felt just pointless, just to make it where it's not insta-lovey, and to just hit the beat of enemies to lovers. And that's a whole other video essay I could do, because enemies to lovers has lost the plot, and I fear we will never recover, because enemies to lovers isn't even enemies to lovers anymore. Like, why are we enemies to lovers when we're, like, we're not even in a fantasy setting? Like, I don't want to, I could go on forever about that. So, yeah. And so the main villain of the story is Aaron, who is her skating partner, who, like, treats Anastasia like shit. And he does, I will say that, but it's supposed to be an example of a toxic friendship, or toxic partnership, but it's only toxic. There's no actual good scenes to show, like, her friendship. She's supposed to be, like, besties with Aaron, but we never see it, ever. He's off screens like 90% of the book, for the almost damn near 500 pages it is. We hear a lot of what he says to other people and what he does to other people, but we don't actually see many scenes between her and Aaron that isn't like a shit fest. Which I don't think that's a good example of a toxic friendship, and it would have meant a lot. The scenes where he betrays Anastasia would have hit so much harder if we would have seen the scenes where he's being a good friend, like Anastasia says he can be. At least in the beginning of the book. Like, I wanted to see, like, some good scenes, even if they're, like, hinted at to be a little, like, not that good, you know, like, an actual example of a toxic friendship, you know. It just felt silly to me, and it wasn't impactful at all, like, when he betrayed her and said, like, a bunch of bullshit. And then also, another thing I want to harp on is Anastasia is supposed to be a commitment phobe. Like, she's not into commitment. But it's never actually explained why she is that way, and it's never actually explored either. And that really upset me. Feels like she just says she is just for the sake of making sure that her and Nate do not come off insta-lovey, which they kind of were. And I don't know, that was just disappointing. I feel like it could have given Anastasia more character. And it's good to give characters flaws to make them more relatable, more believable. And she has this flaw, but it's never actually explained why or delved into it and made it to where it's believable or more heartwarming when she actually does commit to Nate. Like, it just was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll be your girlfriend. It's not actually explained why she is scared of relationships, and I feel like that could have been such a good analytical part of a character, like what makes her a person, because everybody has flaws. And okay, so and like halfway towards the book, Aaron cannot be her skating partner anymore for reasons, and Nate has to, I guess, stand in for whatever reason. This felt silly to me too, to be her ice skating partner. And she comes up with this arbitrary rule for them not to be intimate together for 2 months. This is what really pissed me off, because besides the fact that like 80% of this book is smut, and unnecessary scenes and characters, if you know anything about pair figure skating, what makes pair figure skating so good is chemistry. That is the whole point of pair figure skating, is being in tune with your partner and having that chemistry, which is why so many pairs figure skaters are either siblings in a non-weird way, or in relationships, or it takes like months and months to find your perfect partner to skate with, because you have to have that chemistry. That's such an important, integral part of pairs figure skating. So why do you come up, like, Anastasia would know that. She is a pairs figure skater. So you're going to deny your partner, your boyfriend, intimacy for the sake of focusing on the sport, when it could be argued that it'd actually be beneficial. Like, it just felt silly. For what? And it's not even kept up for the full 2 months. It was only half the month, and then they just start screwing all over again, over and over again. It just was pointless. That pissed me off and made me feel like this author did not do a bit of research on pairs figure skating. There's only one line of dialogue where they talk about the different types of jumps in ice skating, because it's Anastasia explaining them to Nate because he has to learn how to figure skate with her. And they do point out that he had to get new skates with picks, which is needed for figure skating as opposed to hockey skates. But other than that, it's not actually delved into on any real, like, anything of substance. There's a scene towards the end of the book where Nate is watching Anastasia skate. This really upset me, and it's just like 1 or 2 throwaway lines about, oh yeah, Anastasia looks so pretty skating. I've seen her do this over and over and over again. Nate, you just helped her ice skate for 2 months, and you can't even tell me if she's doing a triple Lutz, a quad Lutz. You can't tell me what kind of jump she's doing, if it's like a toe jump, anything at all. Like, I want to be able to visualize the dance that Anastasia is doing. I want to be able to be like, oh yeah, she's doing a triple Lutz. I'm going to look it up on YouTube and visualize it, so I understand what kind of scene she's doing for the competition. The author didn't even do that. It was just a throwaway. So I just don't know why it's an ice skating book. That entirely felt pointless, because it didn't go into ice skating at all, really. It didn't go into... The only thing it really touched on was the different skates, one line of different jumps, and also the fear of being dropped in figure skating, in pairs figure skating. Other than that, it felt pointless, and it really upset me. And then, the biggest issue I had with this book, and with what made me want to do this review, was in a lot of romances, there's this trope of like a third act breakup, which can be annoying. I've just kind of gotten used to it because I've been reading romances for so long that it doesn't bother me anymore. And they didn't necessarily break up in this book in the third act, but they definitely had an argument, and like, it really upset me. And I'm going to bring out some highlights. This just reminded me, I highlighted something on page 308. It says frenemies to lovers, and I wrote win. So I guess it wasn't enemies to lovers, but frenemies to lovers. Okay, sure. But okay. So on page 312, from Nathan's point of view, chapter 36, it says, she's taught me communicating doesn't mean everything is perfect. It doesn't mean we don't disagree. It means we work through the imperfect bit together, and if we don't agree, we at least see why the other feels that way. Again, another case of telling and not showing. We don't actually see that in the book. And then they have that big argument towards the end, and not to spoil it completely, but it's about Erin and her skating with Aaron, which is like, what's the point of having Nate skate with her for 2 months if she's just gonna go back to skating with Aaron a week before the nationals? Like, that whole plot point felt pointless. It's barely touched on. It was so annoying. I hated this. But we don't actually see that. And then when they do fight, I think Nate had some, when they fight, it's more so Anastasia telling Nate how he feels and kind of gaslighting him and pretty much telling him, I don't give a fuck what you think, I'm gonna do what I want anyway, which was not good in my opinion. But let's just say I think Nate actually had some valid concerns, and he didn't even do it or speak his concerns in a bad way, unless I need to go back and reread, but I don't think so. And then she tells him pretty much, let me see if I can find the highlight. I found it. So, page 368. Nathan is waiting with a gorgeous bunch of peonies when I arrive back at the house, and I can't even pretend to be happy about it. He holds the bouquet out to me. How did it go? Immediately. I don't have the energy to cope when I tell you, and you make me feel shitty. Can I tell you tomorrow when I've processed it? I need a drink. I think I'm gonna go out with Lola. Girl, like, because he has concerns about how you're being treated by your partner, your skating partner, you certainly have no issues talking to Henry. This is your boyfriend, girl, like, and he genuinely cares. Like, and then it shows, like, I think later on, I don't even think I highlighted it, but there was, like, scenes where his hockey friends are telling him, yeah, you were an asshole, and this and that, and it just felt so, like, gaslighty. I don't think Nate said or did anything wrong. I think he was valid, and I did not like the way that their argument was handled. It felt like Anastasia was just let to be a bitch for the sake of being a bitch, and not listening to her partner, and not showing actual communication skills. Like, we go on and on about how she's so good at communicating, she's learned this in therapy, but we don't actually see it. And I just did not like this book. I will not be reading any more from this. I wish the author did more research about ice skating. I wish the relationship was actually romance instead of just lust and just a bunch of sex scenes. I will say the sex scenes were written well, better than a lot of the other romances I've read, like on Kindle Unlimited and everything, but just too many. And this book was unnecessarily long, with too many characters, too many unnecessary scenes, and it dragged, and I'm just so disappointed. So, that's what I had to say about Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I do plan on filming more book-related content for this YouTube channel. It is something I'm passionate about. Maybe I'll do some monthly wrap-ups, hauls, reading vlogs, I don't know. But yeah, if you want to follow me on Goodreads, I will include it down below. Please don't drag me or judge me for what I read. I read everything. I don't limit myself. But I do go through small reading slumps, so I might not be on there reading constantly, especially because I am in school that is very, very time consuming. But I do get on there anyway, so if you want to add me, go ahead. So yeah, thank you for watching.